We want to talk about this tonight. The FBI investigating itself and how it screwed up a major opportunity to stop the high school massacre in Florida. That's right. 19-year-old Nikolas Cruz had been identified and described as really dangerous to the agency by somebody who apparently knew him and called into a public tip line. The FBI received that tip back in January. It included information about his weapons, his desire to kill, the potential for a school shooting. The FBI never forwarded that information to the Miami field office. No investigation into the tip was conducted. FBI Director Christopher Wray said the FBI deeply regrets the additional pain this is causing. And there is plenty of pain going all around tonight. We'll first go to a retired FBI profiler, Gregg McCrary, who helps us try and sort out just how this tip should have been handled, because somebody out there did see something and did say something to no avail. Greg, thanks for joining us. This was a detailed tip here. Nothing vague, nothing nebulous. This has got to make you sick, right?
It does. It's a failure. I mean, there's no making any other evaluation of the situation. The policies and protocols in place are good, but they weren't followed. And if they're not followed, then you might as well not have them. So yeah, it's a definite failure. We don't know exactly what happened. I mean, my understanding is this tip came into our public access, the FBI's public access line, which is in West Virginia. Thousands of calls come in there a day, and they triage and sort those things out. This would have definitely been a high priority call based on the threat to life. That should have been forwarded to the Miami field office to agents to be investigated. And somehow that did not happen. And that's the issue. And it's a problem, and they're investigating it. It needs to be investigated. Need to find out why. And if there's an issue to be fixed, we need to fix it.
Greg, it just seems like the credibility of the FBI has taken an incredible hit at this point.
Yes.
The director says all of the men and women of the FBI are dedicated to keeping the American people safe and are relentlessly committed to improving all that we do and how we do it. You can't blame people, the families, the people who survived the shooting, if they just don't believe that at this point, right?
I understand. I understand that. But I think we also have to be careful, and I'm not trying to be overly defensive of the Bureau here, in any way. I think the idea that may be taken just a bit too far is if the agents had had that tip and investigated it, that the massacre wouldn't have happened. And the truthful answer is we'll never know, and that's the agonizing part of this thing. But imagine this scenario. So the agents get the tip, they go out, they interview him, and he says, yeah, I made those threats. I threatened to do this, but I was having a bad day, and I'm not going to do it.
Right.
What do we do now?
That's kind of like what I'm asking. I mean, we tell people you see something, say something. This is clearly somebody who saw something and said something with a lot of specifics to back it up, and nothing happened.
Yes, that's exactly right. And that's the issue. So it needs to be revisited. Maybe there are ways, because keep in mind the Broward County Sheriff's Office had like 35 calls for service.
Right.
They knew this guy. I mean, maybe what we have to do is lower the bar a little bit for law enforcement intervention. Maybe that's enough to tip the scale to get this guy Baker acted is the law in Florida, where he could be involuntarily committed for an evaluation. He hadn't reached that bar yet, but maybe things like that need to be reevaluated. So a suspicious person with enough of those components in place, maybe that should trigger an involuntary evaluation of a guy like that to assess danger.
Yeah, at some point in time, we have to ask the question, are we willing to sacrifice some of our liberties so that the FBI can't properly investigate these tips? But before we get to that, we got to find out what happened to this information that came into the Bureau, right?
That's right. Those are two excellent points. One, what happened? How did the Bureau fail at this? And they did. And then secondly, and this is always the issue we're dealing with, the rights of the security of individuals and our individuals' liberty versus public safety. This is a constant pulling in different directions. I don't know if we'll ever get the balance just right. It's a struggle, but we need to work hard to get it right. So
the governor is calling for the FBI director to resign. What do you think?
That to me is a step too far at this point. If there's some indication the director put some policy in place, or he had something remotely to do with this, it could be just the failure of one of our call people in PAL, in the place in West Virginia. So I don't know that I mean, not to be argumentative, but could you say the governor should resign because he had this mass slaughter on his hands in Florida, and the police responded 35 times and didn't do anything? I mean, I don't know that we should be blamestorming this thing at this point. We need to look at all the problems and all the issues, figure it out, make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, as usual, Greg, thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.